We have seen some pretty exciting things here in the early part of the day, and ADA's loving it. It's doing incredibly well, surging near some highs that we saw yesterday and potentially even beyond that as the day progresses, because we absolutely crushed expectations. We're on the verge of actually a BTC breakout. That's very exciting here as well. And we're going to discuss all what that might look like heading into tomorrow, where we get more data and have the potential again to do this once more. But I also want to talk about a few comments from some community members. Want to address Lark Davis video that was posted as well. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So ADA at the time of filming this video is just above 89 cents, and we're closing in on those highs from yesterday. It's about 8:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. And obviously the big news for the day was our PPI report. And for those that missed it, it was the complete opposite of last month. Because if you guys remember, last month's report came in incredibly hot, much higher than expectations. Well, guess what? Way lower than expectations. We actually came in at 2.6% over the month over month versus the 3.3% expected. Core PPI at 2.8% versus 3.5% expected. So it looks like last month was kind of an outlier month, and then we've kind of returned back to normal. Now, the big thing I will say is that we need to see some continuity when it comes to tomorrow's CPI report. We need to see either meeting or beating expectations there. And I think this really sets us up well across the crypto space and across markets in general, because we have a very high likelihood, excuse me, of a 50 basis point decrease. And I think the market's starting to realize that. You have a lot of capital flocking back to assets. And what I will say here is as well is BTC is on the verge of a potential breakout. Okay. It's like I've talked about, when BTC can finally breach the top of this trend, that's when things can get very, very exciting for the crypto market. And guys, it's doing it. BTC is up 2.25% today. I don't even know. I think the last time we saw this type of move was back here on Friday, August 22nd. If you guys remember, that was when the Fed said that they were shifting their policy away from just inflation driven data and focusing a lot more on jobs reports, right? On what the jobs market is in fact doing. So this has been the perfect setup. It's the perfect day. And hopefully tomorrow continues on this perfect note and we can see ADA get all the way to the top of its trend. I want to remind everybody, we got to get up to the 90-cent range. That's the edge of our zone here. And that's when things can really start heating up and ADA can try to attack $1.08, a range that it hasn't seen since all the way back here in March. Frankly, there's been a lot of opportunity around the crypto market. Hope people took advantage of the dips. You know, ADA's been doing well. Simple, I keep talking about Simple. I'm really excited about what this project is doing. And right now it's showing some signs that it wants to bounce just like it's done back here. I'm watching that very closely. I love me some TIE, BitTensor, Virtuals. I mean, there's a lot of good projects in the space. And frankly, we've talked about a lot of these before. And I think we're getting into the time where retail is going to be excited enough to start moving blue chips, but smaller caps as well. Now, what is really promising about this, and the reason why ADA is starting to do so well on these pumps, is because supply is really getting limited in the market. For example, I want to show you guys this. So this is from Tap Tools. This says Cardano's most loyal investors, those holding since 2021 or earlier, are still accumulating ADA. They haven't sold much even during rallies. And this is a pretty darn big deal because you want the people that are convicted to stay convicted. And that's exactly what's been taking place. And this is also the reason why when we look at this exchange flow for ADA, it's been outflow. So this is the weekly. We can see this week has been another decent week so far, $14 million worth of ADA removed from exchanges. So you're seeing, again, the convicted stay convicted. You're seeing people just continue to buy and hoard. And this is why I keep saying that we're headed towards a supply shock. It's not going to be a surprising thing to me. We're getting towards very thin liquidity zones. I would not be surprised by days of like 20, 30% in terms of ADA, which is pretty wild considering that ADA is a $30 billion asset. Just think about that. And actually, we're on the verge of actually flipping Tron. Hopefully that's something that takes place today. We're having really good volume yet again. But I do want to talk about a couple things here because there was actually a video that came out by Lark Davis. A viewer posted this, and I took the time to go through this video and listen to it. And unfortunately, this was I think kind of a disingenuous video. The price predictions actually weren't that bad. And I'll talk about those in just a moment. But a lot of what he did in this video was just rag on Cardano, rag on the blockchain, say that, we don't have enough in terms of stables, TVL is low, that all the developments and stuff are really geared towards third world countries. And that's not the case at all. We know a big focus of Cardano has been infrastructure. It's trying to build for worldwide infrastructure. And we're already starting to see some of the exciting signs when it comes to that. I want to remind everybody, it's been utilized in Dubai. Remember the Dubai police force storing ballistic evidence. We've had NASA utilizing the Cardano blockchain for supply chain. We have, Argentina adopting the Cardano blockchain. I mean, there's a lot of things, and there's much more even beyond that. But big enterprise and governments around the world are looking at Cardano, and what he said didn't really make a whole lot of sense. He said, oh yeah, these other entities out there, they're looking at chains with the most users. No, that's bullshit. They're not doing that at all. They're looking for security. They're looking for uptime. They're looking for scalability. And guess what? Cardano checks all the boxes. Okay, that is why Cardano is truly an enterprise grade blockchain, and it has one of the highest likelihoods of being adopted by enterprises. Sure, there are some other chains that are being tested out right now, just like everything is, right? They're in that fact finding phase. And I think what they're going to find over time is that Cardano is in fact the most suited when it comes to this, especially being a decentralized chain that doesn't have central authority. I mean, that's a pretty darn big deal to these entities. You have to think beyond retail because, yeah, retail's fun, retail drives price, and we obviously have a lot of retail projects in Cardano and many other chains right now, but that's not the end all be all. That's not what is going to get you to become the most dominant chain in the world, if that makes sense. All right. Now, I've seen a lot of comments. Oh, and I'll talk about the price predictions here. He was talking about, oh yeah, he wouldn't be surprised by a lower high. I'm not going to play a video there anyways, or an ad. He was talking about, he wouldn't be surprised by a lower high in terms of ADA, or that's what should happen. But he also talked about a potential $10 ADA. He talked about potential $5 ADA. And those ranges, frankly, would make a lot of sense when it comes down to supply shock, when it comes down to mass adoption. Obviously, there's, interest from institutional players like Grayscale, for example, and many others filing ADA spot ETFs. I mean, demand is coming. And that's why I'm not going to be surprised when Cardano sets, or when ADA sets a new high. It's because there is so much demand. And the funny part of that is the biggest demand that comes for ADA is typically from retail, which really hasn't even re-entered the space yet. Hopefully that makes sense for people. Now, I've had a lot of questions, or not a lot, a couple questions lately about DeFi Llama data when it comes to Cardano. And what people need to understand is that one, some of this is incorrect. Unfortunately, when you look at different platforms throughout the interwebs, some of them have very different data. For example, the daily active addresses, when it comes to DeFi Llama, I've always found that this is never right. I will say though, we've kind of floated around, 30 to 40,000 daily active addresses when it comes to Cardano. And what I've kind of found is that a lot of people have just been buying and just kind of hoarding, and they're not really doing a whole lot with their ADA. I happen to be one of those people. I don't really actively trade. I mostly kind of sit on my hands and don't do a whole lot. I will say there are a lot of projects that are being built within Cardano. There's a lot of projects that have launched so far, and things have been pretty quiet, and we're not really getting a whole lot of new adoption right now, and that's not really surprising. If you guys have followed me here on the channel for a while, if we look back all the way at my videos back in 2022 and 2023, I'd said many times that it won't be until late market cycle that you're going to see big DeFi adoption. That's when you truly see people flock to DeFi and start utilizing DeFi protocols. And if you haven't noticed, across the crypto space right now, you're not seeing big DeFi surges. In fact, when we look at Solana, it's fallen down to transaction volume that's very low compared. That is some of the lowest levels it's seen since like early 2024, mid 2024. So Solana, which is supposed to be one of the most dominant chains in the space, is taking major steps back. Ethereum, still having problem with gas fees. That's holding Ethereum back. We're not really seeing this big DeFi push yet. All right. Now, I will say that there are some things that do need to happen. We probably need to have more stablecoin within the Cardano ecosystem. Obviously, there's big discussions when it comes to RLUSD. There's big discussions when it comes down to whatever the World Liberty stablecoin is as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a lot of stablecoin adoption that takes place when we get into those times. I'd love to have them now, but obviously I'm just one voice within the Cardano ecosystem. So that's something as a community we can obviously vote and make decisions on. Another thing I've been noticing here as well is An actual ADA within Cardano DeFi, or ADA that's actually contributing to Cardano TVL, has been kind of stagnant since basically March. We've been kind of floating around this 550 to 600 million ADA range actually being utilized there. And that's not really indicative of anything. In fact, I would say it's kind of nice, because looking back at where we had our last floor or our last flat period, for example, which was all the way back in 2022, that was, at about 200 million ADA. So you're actually seeing more activity compared to back then, which is a great sign. Now, in terms of DeFi TVL overall, Cardano TVL overall, the big downside is that ADA that is staked is not counted in TVL, like unlike other chains. Other chains, because they don't have liquid staking, they get to count it, which means that they can have billions in TVL that frankly isn't really doing anything. So I like to just kind of compare Cardano to Cardano from that metric. So that's what I'll say on that. So that's kind of where we're at. Good things are happening. We're making major progress. Cardano obviously has some big launches still coming in Ouroboros, Laos, in Midnight. Bitcoin OS still hasn't even really gotten implemented in a big way. Hydra's still coming down the pipeline too. We obviously know that's very close. There are projects that are building with Hydra right now that will be coming to the blockchain as well. So that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I know this video got a little bit longer, but sometimes that just happens. But have a great day. Show your love below. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.